So the assignment again is creating a cylinder. So you're either rolling a slab, or if you're in school and you want to throw it on the wheel and then like take it home or whatever. But it should be at least 6 inches tall. Everything that I made here is larger than you need. I just wanted to give you an idea of on a larger scale what can be done. So I have a couple of different sizes to show you. So the first technique that I'm going to show you is probably like the simplest. It involves creating a cylinder that does not have a bottom. So you can kind of see in this one, this is huge. I used to throw these, like if you're interested in trying to create something large. Oh my God, please don't drop this. There we go. This was roughly, I don't know, 4 pounds of clay, 3.5 to 4 pounds of clay. And it's about, I don't know, 10 inches tall, maybe a little less, 9. But you can see it has no bottom, because the first thing I'm gonna do, I wanna change the shape. So taking something like this, making sure that it is leather hard, or just under leather hard. So it's stiff enough that it holds its shape. It's not sticky on the outside, but I can still manipulate it and move it. So all I'm gonna do is start to slowly push and change the shape to create, you know, different something. It can be an oval, you can kind of square off the edges. And again, this is all done very slowly, because if you force the clay too quickly, it will crack. If it's on the drier side, then you probably want to spray it or wrap it with damp paper towels, and then go back to it once it's softened up a little bit. I'm gonna put on my focus lock thing so it doesn't keep changing. Okay, move whatever, I don't know if you can even see that little thing, but I'll move it. Okay, so I just have kind of, you can see my little drawing down here. I kind of had an idea of creating kind of these 2 little rounded edges. It almost looks like a lemon. And what I'm gonna use to create that shape and mold it and make sure that it's even is I just took one of the little, what's it called? The inside of the paper towel roll thing. And I'm just gonna form the edges around that and kind of push it, again, slowly from the side, and then do the same thing over here. And again, just to give it a little bit of visual interest. And then once you create your shape, once you have the shape that you want, you would actually roll out another slab. I'm not gonna like go all the way down, but I would want to change the shape of the base too. And you can kind of see me pushing it in. But now I've got kind of this cool cylinder that is not perfectly round. I would roll out a slab, put this on top of it, trace it, and then score and slip it to the base. So construction of this is fairly easy. It's just making sure that your cylinder does not have a bottom, and then just playing around with shape and making it a more interesting shape. So that's your first option of changing the cylinder. I'm gonna rewrap this because I want to eventually finish all of these. I'm not gonna like get rid of them. It was the first, I threw all these last week, and it was the first time on the wheel this year. Like, I think since having Anna last year. So it was quite a lot, and my back hurt for 3 days afterwards because I haven't thrown anything in so long. So I'll just move this over here. So it's a workout. So your second option, again, I don't know what order I put it in online, but I'll do the tripod one. This is probably the next, like, one step up from changing the shape. And this one is also a bottomless cylinder. So this one's a little bit taller. So I've also created a bottomless cylinder. Obviously, if you're creating this with using slabs, you're rolling out a slab, attaching it, you know, on the seam there, putting a coil on the inside, and then just letting it, you know, harden in the shape, or not harden all the way, but stiffen up in the shape that you want. You're not putting a base on it. So for this one, the tripod is fairly simple. Again, where's my tripod example? So you're creating something that has a base that looks like that. I've put like a rim on the top of this one. So I would look at your tripod here. Because I made this on the wheel, the bottom is a little bit weird. I'm gonna trim this off so it doesn't have that like little flare and it's not a little bit messy on the bottom. So all I'm gonna do is take a knife and I'm just gonna cut below and go around. I mean, if I was smart, I would have measured and made sure that this was even, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it and hoping for the best. So cut that off. So now it's a little bit better and more even. Now the tripod is fairly simple in that I'm just gonna take the edges and again, slowly push it together to create a triangle. And this takes a little bit. So what ends up happening, this will be the bottom, this is gonna be the top. I mean, if you do it as a slab, like, you know, it should look fairly similar. If you're throwing it on the wheel, the bottom is probably gonna look a little bit less nice than the top. So what I wanna do at this point, it's gonna get pretty tight in here. So I can take a pin tool or a knife or a pin tool and just kind of take out the little bit of extra clay over there. Eventually, as these get closer, I'm going to score and slip them together. And I will need to add a little bit of extra clay, like you can see on the bottom of this, to seal it up, because it's not gonna match perfectly in the middle. So you just take a chunk, flatten it out, or if you want to be really exact, you can, you know, roll out another slab. But by doing that, that'll make it a little bit easier to get them closer. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna score the inside, and I can leave it pretty messy because I'm gonna go ahead and finish everything after I add the base to it. So I would do this, and then add some slip, and then push it together. So there's my slip, mix it up, and push it together. You can make jars with tripods here. You can make a mug. I think I have multiple examples in the slideshow for you to kind of figure out. It's pretty simple, but I think the effect of it is really neat. So I'm just gonna push it together as far as it goes. Do the same thing over here, and then over here. And then I'm gonna take some clay. So now obviously I have this little opening and I'm gonna have to seal it up and then take care of the inside. I'm just gonna move and smooth this out just with that slip that's there. I'll be putting extra clay on the inside, so I'm not entirely worried about this seam. If you get cracks around the edges because you've bent it so much, just, you know, take some water and smooth it down. This one, you definitely want it to be on the softer side because you're changing the shape quite drastically. The drier the clay is, the more difficult it's going to be, and the more likely it is going to crack when you bend it. So all I would do at this point is score, there's the bell. I would score around here. And this might also be a nice area if you have your stamp. You could do your initial stamp on a piece of clay, cut it out, and then attach it right over. So I would just put some slip on, smush it down, and then for the inside, you're gonna have a little bit of work to do. So what I would do for the inside here is the same thing. Grab a little bit of clay, score the bottom of your piece. If it's, this is really tall, so you probably need, I would maybe score the back side of your little disc first before you attach it. So that way you can just put some slip on a piece of clay, drop it in the center, and then just use a tall tool, like, I don't know, the handle of something to smush it in. And then add some coils in the corners. The base is not gonna be all that pretty if it's a super tall piece. I mean, you can kind of see, it's a little lumpy in there. You can see some marks that have, like from the smoothing of it. But it's important, so it's sealed up. But now, you know, you've got this nice tripod vessel. If you're working with like a hand rolled out slab, before you wrap it and join it together, you can put texture on the surface, you can roll stamps into it, you can impress things and then create it. You can carve into it. It really, you know, it opens up a lot of possibilities. So that's the tripod. The next one that I'm gonna do, let me clear this off. I'm gonna wrap this up, or I can just put it over here. So the next one is something like it's, you create it and then cut it into parts and reattach it in different ways. So that will create something, you know, this one has a base to it, okay? So it was thrown on the wheel and it has a bottom to it. So the first two that I showed you are bottomless cylinders. This, and then the next one, you need to have a base. I think I showed you this teapot example here. The spout kind of was a tall cylinder, and then to get this nice little jog in it, it was cut and rotated and reattached in a different angle. So you can do that with larger pieces as well. What I did for this one, you probably want to plan it out because you're gonna take your cylinder and cut it into pieces and then reattach things. But it's always good to have a plan so you don't cut your piece apart and then forget what you were gonna do with it. So of course I've already cut my piece of paper. I just took an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and it was roughly the same size as the cylinder that I made. So I just taped it together. I've already cut this apart, but I did label, I put numbers on them. 1, 2. So I'll just stack it so you can kind of see, what number is this? 3. And 4. Okay, so that's how it was. You can see my little drawing too. Geez. So what I kind of did, I just took this piece of paper and, oops, I'll grab that. I figured, okay, on my sketch over here, maybe I'm just gonna make a couple of different slices. So I made one, rather angled slice going up, the other one I went up the other way, and then another slice at the top. And then I just started playing with the pieces. So I just cut them apart and then started rearranging and figuring out which ways to reattach it. So you're really just taking your pieces, turning them, figuring out which angles you want, and go from there. So I came up with the order of like starting with the base one, obviously, because that has, hold on. The bottom one's gonna have your base, so that should stay on the bottom. And then I put number 3 next, and I flipped it this way. And then I put 2 up there. I think I had it going, yeah, with the short side over here. And then the 4th one, I don't even know what I did. Maybe I had it going like that. I don't know. So you can kind of see from when I put this whole video together, you will see from the front what I'm aiming for. So once you have a plan and a template, definitely before you cut into your cylinder, try it out with paper first. I'm just gonna take these cuts, and so to make sure that I have the correct angle according to what my sketch is here, I'm just gonna flatten out my things here, and now I can kind of see the angle that I'm using. I'm gonna wrap it around my jar. So now I can just trace, before I cut it, I can trace the angle that I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna do that. Now since it's one solid piece, I'm going in order. So I'm putting piece number 2 on here. Maybe I'll do it a little bit lower because I think the piece of paper was a little bit taller than my mug. So I'll make this slightly lower. And do the same thing with 3. Wait, which one? I forgot to do the top. 2 and 3. Okay, so that's roughly the cuts that I'm gonna do. But since I have to cut all the way around, I've got to flip this over and do the same thing, but now in like the reverse direction. So I'm gonna try my best to line up my marks on either side. So if 2 was this way, tracing it on, I'm gonna trace the angle this way. So I'm gonna line it up. Let's start with 1 here. So if I can get 1, so 2 is gonna go like this. I'm gonna go wait. This way. Wait, no. On this way, yes. Lining it up over there. And then it's not gonna match perfectly, again, because my template, I just like eyeballed it with what my, what's this? What my cylinder was, so I'm gonna just kind of fudge it a little bit and connect the 2 lines. Yours, like if you actually make a template out of paper, yours will fit around, but I, of course, did not do that. So we do that, and then the second one, way. Match it up over here. Again, kind of eyeballing the two marks. Here, here. And then cut 3, just like this. Eyeballing that. Over here. Okay, so now that I've traced out my cuts, I'm gonna take a knife and cut this apart. And I'm gonna cut it just straight in. Like I don't need to angle it or anything like that, because I am reattaching all of these at a straight angle, like or you know, flush against each other. I'm gonna just go in straight. And I would cut as carefully as I can. So for this one, you definitely want it to be on the stiffer side, because as you cut these pieces, you don't want them to change their shape. You want them to stay in the round. So you don't want them to be like flimsy. So I mean, that one is it's pretty solid. You know, if I pushed on it and really changed the shape, like put pressure on it, it would change, but it's not immediately collapsing. So there's one section. Just go around and cut my second one. Already I made it curved, but whatever. Continue on. Watch, I'll probably drop this one when I finish. Put this down on the table and then we'll finish. So I cut, and then here's section 2, and then the last one. And now it's just a matter of reattaching in the order that I want. For this one, because I want like nice clean angles on the outside, I don't need coils on the outside, but I do want to reinforce the joins on the inside. So you want to score and slip it and then put a tiny coil as best you can at the joins on the inside. It will just help with cracking, like you don't want these to crack apart. Where's the other? There we go. Okay, so that is section 2. So now I'm just gonna look at my plan here. So this is the bottom. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So my plan has the base 1, and then 3 is next. So I'm just gonna take my 3 and figure out the angle. So if that, well, according to my sketch, I have it going off to the side like that. So now you can see it's at a different angle. It's not going straight up. So I would score and slip it at this angle. I'm not gonna spend time in score and slip it right now. So there you can kind of see the beginning of it. The next section is 2, and so I look at this and I see I've got the short side on the right here, so I would take this and score and slip it there, so you can kind of see what that would look like. And then the last one, section 4, and it would go on top, flipped around the other way, this way. So now you can kind of see, it's a little weird. The proportions are not exactly like my drawing, but so now all of that would be scored and slipped together. And now you have kind of like a funky vase or something. You could even take out a section, like if I wanted to, you know, cut out something from the middle section here and leave it open, like that could be kind of a cool design. So this is the next like on a scale of complication, it's the third complicated one. Now the last one that I'm going to show you is, I don't want to say the most complicated, it just involves more planning. And I'll show you, put this back in, finish that one later. So my goal today is to get all of these attached and finished, so next week when you come in, you will be able to see the finished ones. So the last one is called Darts and Parts, and this is one where, again, you're making a cylinder with a bottom to it. And where is the opening? So again, I have a cylinder. For this one, you want it to be on the softer side. Hopefully I've sprayed this one enough. Because you're gonna be, again, changing the shape a little bit and forcing the clay into a different angle. So you don't want it to be too dry or you're gonna crack it. So for this one, I am cutting out parts of this and reattaching the piece together without a part. So the main thing, like I've got my little sketch here, and I put out a handout in Classroom that has a whole like chart of what the different parts that you cut out of your piece create, like the different shapes, and I can go over that next week, but it really gives you a good, where is it? Somewhere, my disastrous table over here. It gives you a good idea of what you can do and what's possible with this. For what I'm just gonna demo here, I'm gonna show you what a leaf dart is, which basically just looks like a leaf, and then a triangle, like a triangle dart. So a leaf dart, I wanna pinch in the sides of this piece, and so this is what a leaf dart would do to a piece. This is a fairly drastic one. You can kind of see it goes in. So that means it was a wider piece of clay that was taken out. So the bigger the piece that you're removing, the more drastic the shape change. If you want something subtle, it's just a small piece is being taken out. So what I'm gonna do with this, again, if I was smart, I would have cut out a piece of paper so I could trace it on one side. Let me do that. Let me just cut. I'll cut out a little leaf. So now I know that it's going to be even on one side and the other. And this is, I'm cutting out a fairly small one because it's a little bit stiff. I made them the other day, so I'm not gonna be able to change the shape drastically. So I'm just gonna trace this here and then cut this out. I know we only have like 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna trace and trace. Now the important part when you're doing this one, because I'm reattaching it and it's in the structure of the piece and I wanna make sure that the join is as strong as possible, I wanna make a beveled cut on here. And so what I'm gonna do is instead of cutting straight in and then trying to get those pieces to match up like perfectly, which they're not going to do because I'm forcing them in and it's gonna be at an angle, I'm gonna cut this at one cut, I'm gonna cut at an angle, and then the other one I'm gonna cut at the same angle. So basically the easiest way to explain it is you can hold your knife, you know, at a 45-degree angle in the cut, like that. So you can kind of see, I'm try not to drop it. So that my knife is in at an angle like that. It's not going into the clay straight up and down. So it's at this angle, and I'm just gonna follow my cut and keep it at that angle. And then I'm gonna keep my hand in this position, remove my knife, and then reinsert it. I should do it at the top. Reinsert it at the same angle. So this was the cut, I'm just doing this. So I'm not switching the angle. I'm staying at that 45-degree angle for the other side. And that's where it gets a little bit confusing. I'm gonna cut like that. So then when I take this piece out, it's gonna be, let's see if I can get it out in one piece. It's a little sticky. Push it out. It's gonna be a little bit of a, it's not gonna be a perfect triangle because I have that angle cut. Oh my God, I'm like butchering the piece here. Get out. Okay, so I guess the clay is a little bit stickier than I thought it was. I'm gonna push it in. There we go. Okay, so I would do this cut on either side. Okay, there we go. So I took it out, and you can see this piece has an angle to it. Like it's hard to tell, but it's not a perfect leaf shape now. It's got a nice angled cut to it. So what I would do for here, this is where I'm gonna push it together and join it at these pieces. So I would score here, score on the other side, put some slip in, and slowly push it in. And this, you'll see in a second why I gotta cut it at an angle. I'm gonna like totally change the shape if I, so I'll do it this way. You can kind of see from the side here. So when I slowly push these in, you'll see that they're joining and laying, the two sides are laying together flat. And now I would just compress it. And I'm definitely gonna need a coil on the inside to keep it secure, because it's gonna wanna pull apart again. Just smush it on the inside. But you can kind of see now I've created this little flare shape. If I wanted it more subtle, then I would have made it taller and more narrow at the top. If I wanted it more drastic, like really pinched in, then it would be wider. Now I would do this on the other side to change the shape of like a rim piece. You would have another cutout. Let's just do a triangle. And let's make sure that that's even. Just gonna cut it in half. And open it up. Plan it out. Let's see, I'll do it on this side here. So I would put it on there and trace it. And then again, the important part is how you're gonna hold your knife. So at an angle here, you can kind of see the top there at an angle. And then keep that same angle. So the cut is at that same angle. And then I pull this triangle out. So there, now that one, you can really see how that was cut. And that was the same thing. I would bend it in, score and slip in here, and then attach it together like that. and that's gonna give, you know, a nice curve at the top.